Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jonas Siegel of The Athletic. Luke Willson, man, he's running scared. Luke's not even here right now. I honestly think Luke is getting a little bit bent out of shape. I know you've been tracking this, Jonas, as an outsider.
I have.
And you're aware that Hazenbro is +4 now.
It's like the craziest thing.
Isn't it a wild turn of events?
It's like if like a terribly run organization suddenly was like just winning the Super Bowl, you'd be like, what the hell?
Yeah, we're the Miracle Mets, man.
Carolina Panthers going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
it's like Brian's Jake Delhomme over here.
That's right.
How is this happening?
It's Delhomme. Jake Delhomme.
Oh, yeah. Didn't you guys have an incident with him?
It's Delhomme. Yeah, that was when the grappler
They're all
really
fired up. Hayes was like, let's bring him in, Jake the Snake Plumber. And all you heard was, it's Delhomme.
It's Delhomme. Yeah, that was a sandbagging from the grappler if I've ever seen one. But, yeah, I'm okay with that. We're like the Miracle Mets. That's who we are, the 69 New York Mets.
Like the lovable losers.
Yeah, I guess so. I think we have support. I know we've talked about this before, but I think we have more support than these two because these two are pro athletes and cocky.
Like in the community, you're saying?
Yeah, in general. I think the general public supports us more than they support them.
I just don't understand. There's no way that snow would be a reason to take.
You picked it,
that's
dude.
really
That's on you for not stepping up.
No kidding.
That's on you.
No more comments. It's just, it was weird. It was a weird.
It was
I even
weird.
said in the text before, I was like, Bills crushed tonight, but I don't even care.
I know. You did call your shot there before the game, but I thought, there he is. Look at this. Fashionably late. I love it. Feeling good. Down 4. He's got a smile on his face, Jonas, which is a good sign.
Got a lot of explaining to do.
He will. And Luke will join us in a moment. But that Bills game last night, I think what was amazing about the Cooper-Allen back and forth was how bad the throw was. And the fact that Cooper caught it. Like, that was a foot behind him, and Cooper somehow caught it.
What the Wilson is cooking. Girl, you know it's true.
All right, Milli Vanilli in there too, man. No stash, dude. I saw you yesterday. I think you should have kept that mustache.
I might bring it back.
I thought it just brought a level of dignity that was.
Do not bring that thing anywhere near your life again.
It's aggressive.
Yes,
You're awfully comfortable, man. You had a chance to put us away, and you choked this weekend.
Well, I would suggest otherwise. I mean,
you're up 6 going into Friday. You had a couple layups. You're
bad
down 4.
pick on Friday. Freddie Kitchens, bad call.
Parts, we had a bad call last night. There is no way in hell the snow was going to stop the Buffalo Bills. No way in hell.
Yeah, I mean, we clearly made the wrong pick. But I do think Christian McCaffrey getting hurt did not help our chances.
Well, as soon as he went down, I turned the TV off. I'm like, we're screwed.
I feel like the Niners, man, they're soft though now. Like to me, they look. And you heard Shanahan after the game. I thought that was a white flag. Shanahan admitted he's like, we're not the same team we used to be. We're going to try hard. You start talking like that, you're admitting your team's in trouble.
Like I sat there and kind of my logic going into it with the cover was 6.5. McCaffrey should be humming. You know, this is a team that's on desperation mode.
Mm-hmm.
Figure it out. And what was weird was in the conditions, and you know they made so many mistakes. The ball flying out of Purdy's hand, use check on the goal line.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Debo fumbling on the kickoff. And it's like you go to the other side and you're like, okay, let's see where the Bills mess up in this, and they don't. I mean, they get to the point where you've gotten one-handed catches into laterals, into one-handed Superman dives.
Can you speak to how great of a play that was by Cooper to catch that ball?
Phenomenal. And this is what's funny to me, and I'm sitting here and everyone's like, man, this is such a sick play by Josh Allen. I'm like, this is a sick play by Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper made that play. It was an awful throw.
And
Allen said that. He's like, I only ran over there out of support because I thought I jammed them so
it's going to be tipped up and picked.
Yeah, exactly. And like Cooper just made an incredible play. Although that was a play I was thinking of you last night watching it, because if he throws that back and Allen fumbles it and it goes the other way,
correct,
aren't we saying, why didn't you just take the loss? Like you caught the ball, be tackled, you're still in the red zone, don't throw away points. But it worked out, so it becomes like one of the cooler plays of the year.
Yeah, and it was tough because I kept waiting for that exact moment and thinking we're going to have a greasy backdoor cover here. Mm-hmm. And it just obviously didn't come. And even coming out of the half, The fumble by Juszczyk on the one drove me insane.
Shocking. But, like, you look at Allen, and we were talking about the MVP discussion, and it keeps picking up. And last night felt not like it wasn't a stat line night. He threw the ball like 17 times.
148 yards.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like he boosted his MVP value last night based on what he did in the air, but it was simply about the first run, which was phenomenal. And then that last night, to me, becomes just it's an image.
No.
Yes, I think it is.
This is why people like you ruin the MVP
Him diving for the end zone like that is such a ballsy play by Josh Allen. How can you sit there
and say, against a team that you just said is waving the white flag in a snow game, where he obviously played well, but this right here, a bad throw where Josh Allen himself says, I was worried it was going to be tipped and picked.
But look at how ballsy this play is by him. Do you know how many quarterbacks would crumble?
And you're going to sit here and say that Saquon Barkley going up against the league's #1 rush defense, basically willing that team into winning that. They're now humming at, 8-2, 9-2? I think it's 9.
No, I think the Eagles' defense factored in yesterday, too. Outside of the first
The man
quarter,
ran for 107, 4.8 in a tutty.
So are you on Barkley over Allen? Are we establishing that right now? If you had a vote right now, you'd have Barkley ahead of Josh Allen.
Yes.
Wait, who did you have last year?
Brock Purdy.
Interesting.
Brock Purdy.
Wow.
That's what we're dealing with.
No numbers. What do you mean that's what we're dealing with?
That's what we're dealing with.
No numbers on players.
I'm just thinking
nobody came statistically close to Brock.
But wait. What about McCaffrey last year?
What about him?
Didn't McCaffrey have a better year last year than Barkley is having this year?
Not as a runner. Maybe as
a
touchdown
passer.
guy.
Hurts has been pretty
Barkley going to be able
Barkley's
to
going to rush for 2,000 yards this year.
Okay. Is he going to be able to overcome the Josh Allen whole phenomenon?
No,
because that's a big part of the
there's
MVP.
Geppetto bots out there, like the guy sitting to my right now.
See, here's the thing.
Look at this guy, crown him. He caught a lateral and dove into the end zone.
Here's the thing, okay? I think Allen actually is in a bit of trouble in terms of the narrative going the other way in favor of Barkley.
No.
I think that's what would hurt him because history would suggest the quarterback wins this every single time. Mm-hmm. The last time a running back or anyone non-quarterback won it was in 2012 with AP. Peterson was the last time. I think Peterson's won it. Sean Alexander's won it. LT won it, and Marshall Faulk. 4 non-quarterbacks in the last 25 years have won it. It's always the quarterback. Statistically, he's not putting up a staggering number. Allen, I'm talking about.
Okay, I'm like, Saquon is.
No, Saquon is.
Okay.
Allen is not like, wow, I can't believe these. This isn't Brady in 07 or something like that.
Yes.
So, and if the Chiefs win out here, they're not going to finish with the best record in the AFC.
Yes.
So there's things that are going against Allen. And on top of it, Barkley is going to rush he's on pace for like 2150 or something.
Stupid.
On the ground.
Correct.
So I get it. And I said this to you last week. I think the biggest miracle of the season is he's made me look at Nick Sirianni and say that guy actually knows how to coach.
Yes.
Which is a miracle to me.
So I think
the narrative is going on Saquon. Yet, Allen is the most valuable player in the league. The ball touches his hands every single play. He spreads the offense out. Who else on that team scares you offensively?
No.
Not Cook. He was good yesterday.
Yeah, no one.
It's not Shakir. It's
eventually. I think Amari and him will they haven't had like last night.
Yeah.
It's a snow game. I think him and Amari can become like a dynamic duo, but we haven't seen it yet.
Right.
But my thing is, if it comes down to a 2-horse race, it's going to be who finishes better. So, for example, the Bills beat the Lions. If they beat the Lions when that matchup comes, now all of a sudden it's like, okay, you've beaten the #1 team in the NFC. Like, does that factor in? Where if the Bills somehow slip up there, how much does that play into it? And again, if one of the teams gets the 1 seed, that's why I don't love the MVP conversation.
This is what happens.
Very, very hard. And what do you count and what do you not count? Right. I would say Josh Allen, you take him off the Bills, they're nowhere near their current score. But I would also use that argument for Saquon. Mm-hmm. I am not a huge believer in the way Jalen Hurts plays quarterback. I don't think he processes his game very well. I think he's a great athlete. Mm-hmm. I think he's got a great arm. Obviously, the tush-push stuff. But I don't know if I'm going to sit here and give that guy a stamp saying he's an elite quarterback. You take Saquon out of Philly.
But wait.
It's been a remarkable start.
Take an average running back and put him in that spot. So let's just say, who's an average running back? Chuba Hubbard. Average? Better than average.
Better than average.
Okay, so give me someone else, like Brian Robinson.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
And now let's take an average quarterback. Who's an average quarterback?
like a top 15
Kirk
guy?
Cousins or
Okay,
something.
let's put him. We'll put Cousins on the Bills. Which team is worse? Aren't the Bills worse?
Yes.
Yes,
I
but
have no
time
idea
out.
what you just said.
No, I see what you're saying.
Confusing
yes,
line,
the Bills
but I
are
get
worse.
where you're going.
But
I get where you're going.
my argument to that would be the Eagles' defense is better than the Bills' defense, statistically.
Right.
Eagles have the number one defense in the NFL.
I think that's what stood out more than anything for me yesterday was
Yeah,
the
they had nothing
adjustments
going.
they
But
made
I
and how
see your
good they
point.
played.
But is that why we give out MVPs?
It's a narrative thing. That's
Yes.
all it is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like
Which is the best story? Josh Allen's never
Why
won an
can't
MVP.
it just be who was the best guy? Who was the best guy? Simplify it.
Well, and
Everybody brings in all these different elements and numbers. Just if it's Josh Allen or Barkley, one of them wins it. Just that was the best guy.
yeah, and
It's not that simple.
but it generally does come down. Yet usually it's who's the best quarterback, and this year for me it's been Josh Allen.
okay,
like,
but
for
you
me,
gotta
it's Allen.
expand on that.
That's tough,
Statistically,
though.
He has not been the best.
Yeah, like
quarterback.
hasn't
hear
Joe
you.
Burrow been the best quarterback?
That would be my next thing. Joe Burrow is on fire, and
They just have no defense.
I think what Hayes is trying to say, Luke, is Josh Allen has had those loud moments.
Yes.
Like when
died,
Jim
the
Nance,
4th and
when he
2,
ran that
yes.
one play in and Jim Nance was like, that's the play of the year. It's like
Yes.
that resounds around
Well,
the whole league.
exactly.
The plays last night, and it's almost like that just gets thrown into a tornado and everyone's like, there's your MVP.
Yeah.
That's how it
Right.
goes down.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree. I don't disagree with anything you guys have said. It just that's where the convo gets.
It is tough, and it's
It's tough
arbitrary
'cause it's like-
guidelines. Every voter sees it differently. Some voters will simply not look at anyone but quarterbacks. That's just a reality. They have concluded you cannot be as valuable as a quarterback if you don't play that position.
You know, I
So-
look at the Eagles and I say you lost Jason Kelsey. You know,
They've had injuries at wideout too a lot.
Yes.
Like A.J. Brown's been hurt.
Smith's been
and
out.
Smith has been hurt.
Yes, and
Yeah.
it's like now all of a sudden you've got arguably one of. I know they've got a couple real great O linemen over there, but like Kelsey's gone. He's the heart and soul of that room and a very intellectual guy as far as calling stuff. You had Swift and Gainwell, and was it Boston Scott? You know, and it's like, oh, Swift kind of revived himself there a little bit. And all of a sudden, by the end of the year, Swift was barely playing. And so you lose an O-lineman, you put Barkley in, and you said he's on pace for 2,150 yards.
That's about the pace, man. Now, it's a little bit deceptive, the 2,000-yard rushing, right? Like
There's an extra game.
Yeah, I mean,
There's an extra game.
O.J. Simpson did it with 14 games.
Yeah.
Like, that was the original was O.J., which no one really talks about that for obvious reasons.
Yes.
But, you know, yet at the same time, the game has changed where there's a lot more throwing. You know, like back in the day, if you were a cowbell back, man, you might get like 40 touches in a
Correct.
game and be told, go run the ball. That's not going to happen anymore.
Like, if you're a
So-
1,000-yard rusher in this league, it's considered like, what a great year.
I can't believe how good that
What a
is.
great year.
Yeah.
So for a guy to get two,
It's absurd how good he's been. And I give full credit to the Eagles. Like that to me was a real statement win. They hadn't played great teams before yesterday, like since the bye, but that was a win. I think there's a couple of things that have come out of this weekend for me is the Ravens can't beat good teams, like elite teams, in my opinion.
the Ravens
I worry
are
about
not even
that.
in the same conversation as the Bills, Steelers, and Chiefs.
I
They're not.
agree with that, and I say that reluctantly because I thought they'd win the Super Bowl. They're going to make the playoffs still.
And they might beat one of those three teams. I'm not saying they can't beat anybody, but the idea that they're going to beat one and or all three is the way they're playing now to me is utter insanity.
I don't see it either. I don't.
What is it about them where they have that sag? Is it Lamar? Like, is it their quarterback? where
It's
he
a
just
combo,
can't-
O-Dog. Part of it is their defense is atrocious right now. First and foremost, against the pass, they're the league's worst. So what was shocking for me yesterday is you sit here, and the Eagles obviously have had a tremendous run game all year, but it's good on good. You're expecting, like, hey, we got to bottle up Saquon, make Jalen Hurts beat us with his arm. And Saquon runs for 107, again, I think 4.8 average and a touchdown. And really, the only time he wasn't doing well was when they weren't giving him the ball. Even in the first quarter, the Eagles didn't convert on third downs. The run game was fine. So that, to me, was even more scary that, like, their run defense wasn't as good as advertised. But now you go to Lamar, O-Dog, and I sit here, and Lamar is the hardest guy for me to, like, put my stamp of, like, MVP, non-MVP, because the numbers are always going to look unbelievable. But I look at yesterday's game, and, like, other than the garbage touchdown, let's take the only touchdown they scored, again, for the very end there. It's an off-schedule throw where Mark Andrews, big bodies, three defenders, strong hands in the end zone, and it's a laser. But my thought is, like, you cannot rely on this. And when you watch the Ravens next week, I would encourage anybody listening, okay, to sit here and on true pass plays, how many times does the ball get out on time? And what I mean by that is the ball is snapped, whether it's a 3 or 5 step drop, Lamar's foot is in the ground, and perhaps he goes 1 to 2 and throws it, or 1 to 2 if he goes to 3 and throws it, and it's on time and it's open. It's very, very few and far between. Where, like, I watch a game, and as much as I like to poke fun at this guy, but Russ yesterday, almost every ball came out on time.
He was great yesterday.
You know, and then you go to some of these other guys. Jared Goff is the prime example. Jared Goff will sit there. He is elite control. Boom. Play action. Doesn't matter if he's in the eye. Back turn to the defense. Fake the handoff. Turns around, and the ball is pushed down the field. Amon-Ra St. Brown on a 15-yard dagger route, and it hits him in the chest. I just don't see that from the Ravens offense, and it makes it tough when you're down like they were yesterday.
That's it, man. Like, Lamar can scramble better than anybody and then make plays
Make
down the
that
field.
play.
Yes,
He
better than anyone.
He will do
Yes.
that all the he will
remember.
escape
Yes.
pressure, and then you see him lining up, you're like, he's gonna hit someone wide open. He's found somebody. He
Zay
can do
Flowers
that.
early on.
Exactly.
Zay Flowers early
But you
on.
guys are missing. You're missing one thing.
Yeah.
Kicker.
Well,
The
Tucker's
kicker
an
is-
issue, man.
What happened? Like,
I-
what do you
They
do?
cut him, like, are you gonna cut Justin Tucker?
So, and it was funny. We had talked about this a bit yesterday, and I get it's Justin Tucker. Sure. And, you know, he's made a million kicks, and then there's the whole, like, what's available? Because
Wow.
at the end of the day, do you want to get a kicker that's not proven himself to make kicks? The answer is probably not. But my whole thing is, at this rate, the way he's kicking this year, if anybody else, no matter how good they were, was playing this way, they'd be on the
Gone.
hot seat.
Yeah,
Gone.
they'd be in big trouble.
Exactly. And now it gets into the locker room where it's like even a guy like Lamar Jackson, if he were to have the equivalent stats-wise of what Justin Tucker has had this year, we'd be on this show right now saying, crucifying this guy, being like, yo, there's no way he can get this done in the playoffs.
Yep. Yeah.
So in the locker room, and I don't know, you know, in hockey if it's similar, but you do sit back and be like, okay, so let me get this straight. Because this guy kicked great for the last 6 years and he's been terrible this year, he gets a free pass. But if I go out here on Sunday and mess something up, I'll be cut.
There's only so much you can take no matter who it is, Luke. You
Bingo.
can't keep protecting a guy, and sooner or later you got to say, you don't get to do that anymore. You're costing all of us and we can't watch it.
I
Sorry.
agree.
But what do you do?
Go find somebody.
You gotta-
or-
Then,
someone
but then you're going to get to the AFC Championship game. You're going to have a big kick, and you're going to be like, this guy?
But that can flip both ways.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
Right.
if you're going to win in the playoffs, he's going to have to make a big kick for you.
Jonas, at pro
Has to.
sports, it might not be who you're looking at. It might be just as long as it's not that guy that was doing it before.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
now, I will say the hug scared me. So there's one thing I know about the NFL. I don't know if you saw the John Harbaugh hug.
yeah.
So I'm a firm believer in this. If you're ever watching a game, whenever you see a coach wrap their arm around someone, to me, that is like the bat signal to the front office to get this man out of here.
Yes. I'm consoling this guy,
time
but I hate his
I
guts.
know it's coming, and I love my guy, Pete Carroll. I mean, to the death, I loved playing for Pete. But whenever we were in a meeting and there was a fringe guy that he brought up and was like, this guy's been great, he's really improving, I knew that the Grim Reaper was lurking in the background. The Grim Reaper was going to come within the next 48 hours
Yep.
and chop this man out of this organization. So I saw that Harbaugh hug, and I was like, that's the Godfather moment.
That's not
like,
good, man.
You've crossed the line. It's over.
That's really not good. That's not good for
how
him
it goes.
or
You get
anybody
the hug.
else.
It's the kiss of death.
All right. Al's brother will join us here in a minute. I want to ask you, there's 2 teams in the league that are 11-1.
Yes.
Chiefs are 11-1. They just beat the Raiders and the Panthers by a 5-point aggregate.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's not good. And the Lions are decimated with injuries.
Yes.
Like, where are we at the rest of the way here? Both teams have 5 games left.
With them too, or where we at? Who the
With
best
the
team in
Lions
NFL
and
are?
Chiefs in particular, do you think both of those teams will finish atop the conference? Their respective
The
conferences.
Chiefs, yes, I do.
You think the Chiefs
Wait,
will
can
end
I-
up doing that?
their schedule is a little hard.
I know it is, but I you can read it out.
I will tell you it. Chargers,
Yeah,
Hard.
not hard. Correct.
Browns.
Hard.
Give you a fight.
The
Yeah.
Browns have beaten
They'll
last
fight.
4. They've
Okay.
beat the
Jameis is
Steelers
playing
and
better.
the Ravens.
These
Yep.
are all hard teams. Texans
Yeah, I'm with you. I hear what you're saying,
in Pittsburgh.
Oof.
which is going to mean a lot.
Tough.
It'll be hard. In Denver to close out the year. And
That's
Denver's-
a really
not
tough schedule,
easy.
man.
And you know what?
That's not 5 wins.
Buffalo has like kind of a pretty chintzy schedule. They
Yeah.
play the Patriots twice.
Yeah, the Lions are in there, right?
Yeah, the Lions
They're
are
at
in there.
Detroit in a couple of
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
They probably have the Jets in there, I would guess.
They do.
Yeah, so that's a win.
Rams, Lions.
The Rams
Patriots.
is this week. The Rams, they
Yeah.
need to get.
They'll win that game.
You say on the road, they just come off this. They should win, but
I think they'll win that game. It's not
Rams
a layup.
season on the line.
I think the Packers are beating Detroit on Thursday. I think that's
Guess who's
happening.
calling that spread?
I know you're calling that
And guess
game.
who's calling that spread?
I haven't seen the number
Lock it
yet.
in right now.
I would guess Detroit.
Lock it in right now, Doogie.
Lions are probably laying points.
Yeah, 3.5.
So that'll be bet down. That'll be 2.5 by kickoff. By
I'm
the time
taking
you
the Pack
pick, it'll
no
be
matter what.
2.5. I agree. I think Packers win that game. I think Detroit is
In trouble.
vulnerable, man. I do. Like,
Detroit's got to sit here. They got to play Green Bay.
yes.
And you said defensively they are decimated. You look at the first time these two teams played, Packers outgained them by 150 yards. Okay, so boom. If they don't win that bad boy, you're now a game up on the Pack and you're tied with the Vikings. The Vikings' schedule is wildly easier.
Yep.
Wildly easier. Now they do have Kirk O'Bang's cousin coming to town who absolutely jammed you guys. Shout out the
God,
pick of
he
the
was
year.
awful
Archie.
yesterday.
Pick of the year, taking the Chargers on the
I'm
road
playing
there.
the kid the rest of the way in Atlanta.
Stop it.
I am.
Stop it.
Get Penix in there.
Don't get me upset.
Get
Hayes.
Penix
Stop
in there.
it.
I can't look at this guy.
This is ridiculous.
The Bucs are winning that division too. I'm telling you,
they're
right?
not.
Yes, they are. The Bucs are going to win that division.
Party.
They're going to win that division.
Penix Jr. parts. I'm sorry.
No.
Penix
No.
Jr.
Dog.
You like
Penix
that?
Jr.
Did you see some of those throws yesterday
Terrible.
from him?
Are you
He
kidding
was
me? I was
horrendous.
sweating that call from the start. I'm like, I'm going to get jammed on
He
this.
was
Parts, you know
awful.
what? Sometimes a guy in a blink of an eye, it all just comes crumbling down, and that might have happened to poor Kirky. Man.
Okay,
I'm
that's
sorry,
fair,
dude.
O-Dog, but
I'm
in the
sorry,
same breath
dude.
here, this is a team that's still currently in first place in the division.
It's fraudulent though. They're
They're going to have a
500.
home playoff game.
I think the
You're
Bucs are
telling
going
me
to pass
that
them.
you want Penix to start your playoff game.
Possibly.
Yeah, let him
Possibly.
learn. Let him learn.
I'm
Let him
thinking
learn.
about it.
Oh, man.
It's percolating.
But
It's
back to
starting
the
percolate.
Lions, because
Yes.
I'm not entertaining.
All right,
okay?
go ahead.
I get very worried about them,
Yeah.
but then I know the Detroit fans, but this guy's a Lion hater, yada yada yada. They lose to Green Bay. They have Buffalo.
Then they
that
got
comes to
Buffalo
town.
the next week. They
Correct.
could lose the next 2 weeks.
And now all of a sudden you've got Green Bay, who you're split with, who you're tied with.
Yes.
And if I believe the Vikings are playing the Falcons, okay?
Yeah, I believe
So
so. yeah.
if they beat the Falcons, which theoretically they should, we're now sitting here a game back.
with the Eagles right on their heels, too, in
and
terms of
correct.
yeah.
And you've got Minnesota, week 18.
Yes.
And then what I would also say, and there's a big if, because if it's a PCL for McCaffrey, I expect him to come back. If it's something more, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot tell me that if somehow, because I'm still not a believer in my Seahawks, that was kind of a grimy win. If somehow the Niners can figure it out, that they won't be at least in the conversation still, week 17 and healthy.
Yeah, and they're at San Francisco. Detroit will be at the Niners.
And I think Detroit wins that game, but it's not a gimme.
Yeah. Honestly, like they're obviously a playoff team. They're going to get to. I think they get to at least 13 wins. I do, but
The Lions.
yeah, the Lions.
Yes.
But if they're 13-4, someone's going to pass them.
Wait
one
a
of these
second.
teams-
What are their wins? So Green Bay, you're saying they're losing.
No, well, it's
I
not a
think they lose.
guarantee.
Yeah,
I
think
think
they
Green Bay
find
will.
I'm just asking where the two wins are. Then
Well,
they play-
at Chicago, they're going to win.
that's one. Where's the other? The other is like,
Probably at the Niners.
okay. All right, that's two wins.
And again,
No.
it's not inconceivable. They could beat Green Bay, Buffalo, Minnesota
Sure.
at home.
They could win
Like
all
they're a
of them.
really
Yeah.
good team. It's not that I'm not saying they're like a terrible team.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they're beat up, man.
I'll tell you the team that I think needs to find a way to win that division is Minnesota. And why I say that is Green Bay to me with Josh Jacobs, the way they're built, they could, and obviously Lambeau, that team can play in January outside. Would they want to be at Lambeau? Yes, I have lost a playoff game in January at Lambeau. Not a great place to go.
Oh,
I
greasy.
promise you that.
Greasy.
You look at Detroit, obviously they play indoors. You want to be at home. But the idea that Detroit can't go on the road and win a cold weather
They're
game
tough,
with Montgomery and Gibbs, that would be ludicrous. That team can win on the road.
What the hell's the cold weather doing, Parts? Here's a cold weather guy right here.
Yeah, see, I haven't heard the O-Dog get buried by an intro. I've been buried by it.
It's Doogie. Just so you know, Doogie's got the same Bryan Hayes on. I can see it through the mirror back here. He's a scumbag.
There he is, Al's brother, with a bit of a different kind of parents' basement vibe. But what's going on with you, AB? Where are you? On a cruise right now? Where are you right now?
No. Had to go back to Niagara for the weekend, doing a little house sitting. So, yeah, we're in the brothers' studio right now.
Oh, I like it. I like it. How's the weather down there, man? You get buffalo snow on the Niagara side of things or what?
It's so funny, man. Like, it's 30 minutes down the road, but we got nothing. Like, there was a couple of random flurries sitting on the ground, but it's green grass all over the place. Do you guys remember that game against Indianapolis a couple of years ago, that Blizzard Bowl that was unbelievable? Like, you could. So I was at that game, and there was like 10-foot snowbanks on the side of the road in Buffalo. Drive over the border, literally 20 minutes down the road, nothing. Green grass everywhere.
It's so insane. Weird, man. The snowbelt stuff.
Now that Al's brother's here, I got to tell you, and this is God's honest truth. I'm not making this up. This weekend, my cousin from Italy, guys from a town of 100 people in the middle of the mountains, comes to Toronto.
Yeah.
All right. So I take him out. I'm not going to lie. I went on a 48-hour bender Friday, Saturday.
Nice.
Just pedal to the metal. Of course, I met a bunch of Noodles friends, which is all time.
Yes.
Okay. But I cannot tell you how many people came up to me and said that they despise you scumbags. The
true.
People of Toronto are pulling. There it is, O-Dog. And I'm not joking.
That was a true statement, and I support the statement 100%.
Look at you over there.
I'm sitting down at dinner, and all of a sudden someone taps me on the shoulder, says, "I'm sorry to bother you, but you can't let these pigeons win," and just walks away. I'm at some other bar. Next guy comes up to me, Hayes is a fraud. You can't let this happen. And I realize that it's not just us, O-Dog. All of Ontario is pulling for us. The only people that aren't are the burner accounts Al's brothers operate.
And I just got to finish it off with this. The one thing about these two guys, they're unlikable.
I agree. I agree.
We don't try to big league them with the pro athlete stuff. These guys are unlikable.
I agree.
Couldn't be further from the truth.
Hayes and I are out there doing snow angels together with our bot farm. That's what we're doing. We're a likable bunch, and we're winning games. We're excited about it.
And you have your own anecdotes that
Did you apologize to your friend for losing him money this weekend? You posted his $29 bet from FanDuel all over the place. Look, and then you jam the guy. You wrap your arm around him and you say, "Hey, take these picks," and you stab him in the back, Al's brother. You ought to pay that guy $29.
Tell me it's not true, Al's brother. What happened?
We paid for Christmas with the Thursday bets. That Thanksgiving slate paid for his entire holidays, pal. He was very thankful.
It was a 4-to-1, 5-to-1 parlay?
That's true, though.
You might as well be shilling negative 250 best bets like some other people I know around here.
These guys, it's so desperate, Al's brother, and it's inaccurate. You were out among the people all weekend, and people were rooting for us. And
be honest,
Al's
brother.
Side,
no one's rooting for you.
Nobody
guys.
cares for Owen Wilson. Nobody cares for them. Exactly. I have my own anecdotes. I keep them to myself. People don't need to hear that kind of stuff.
Planet Fitness don't count.
Planet Fitness does count, man. I'm walking around in that Hazenbro hat, which is admittedly an obnoxious move to wear your own hat at a gym. People cannot stop giving me the eye. They give me the point. They give me the thumbs up. They give me this move. They give me everything.
They're giving you the point, but you're confused what finger it is because they're giving you the bird. What do we got tonight? What do we got tonight?
Let's get to it.
It's a big one. Big swing game.
Yes. Denver laying 6.5 at home tonight against the Browns.
Absolute layup.
Al's brother, you and I were kind of going back and forth. I don't think this is a layup. I think it's a tough game. What's your tremendous information?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a tough game, too, because this line started at 4.5, and it's since moved up to 6.5, and that to me is a little fishy. But I think it's moved up to a point where, Hazy, I think we got to take the points. I think we got to go and roll with the Browns for another week here. I mean, last week in prime time, nice Thursday night win for Winston and the boys. That helped us out. I think we could see it happen here again. But I think it's because this Browns defense is elite, and I think this Browns defense, which leads the NFL in pressures and quarterback hits, is going to make life hell for this kid. I mean, I think that we're going to see this quarterback running around all night long, probably throw a pick or two, and Jameis Winston's going to win this football game for these teams. Or at least cover.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care if he wins. I don't need him to win. I need to cover tonight.
They'll win it for us with a cover.
I kind of like that as well. I mean, Bo Nix has been really impressive. Really, really impressive. And I'll say this, man. Sean Payton, remember when he showed up, how outlandish he was and how bold he was and talking about how good he thought they would be? And they were terrible last year.
And I think they won like 8 games, didn't they?
Well, they actually found a way to kind of string some stuff together when Russ was playing okay. But they still cut bait and they moved on, and now they have Bo Nix there. And you have Bo Nix and Sean Payton. That's a pretty impressive duo. They have a pretty good offensive line, like you've referenced. But the Browns are coming off a long week here. 10 days to prepare. Jameis has been pretty good. I think that defense gets after Bo Nix tonight and keeps it close. I think it's like 24-21 Broncos. Lock it in. We're taking the points. Browns plus 6.5.
As a man of integrity, a man who I potentially don't think has a pony in this.
Nope.
Would these words ever come out of your mouth? If
I know
a
what you're
team
gonna say, yeah.
was 2 weeks removed from Derek Carr putting up 473 yards of offense on them, would you call that defense an elite unit?
Elite.
Myles Garrett's not elite. Myles Garrett on his own.
I didn't say Myles Garrett's not.
Myles Garrett on his own.
For you guys to cherry pick what they did last week in a snow game,
asinine.
coming off a 473 bloodbath beatdown by the New Orleans Saints, of all people. It's the epitome. The fact that we're down 4 keeps me up at night, but it's 3 after.
I don't think Denver, I think they're punching above their weight so far this year. I don't think this was a team that Peyton and company thought would take this much of a stride this year. To their credit, they have. It's a big game for them. Like, this is a big playoff implication type game for them. But the Browns are in spoiler mode, Al's brother, and they're better with Winston. Like, the Browns were a playoff team a year ago. And who caused the biggest havoc, in my opinion? Deshaun Watson. Since he's out, they've been a pretty good club.
It's not even close. I will give you that. This team, I mean, they are, since Winston came back, and then to support that part of your pick, they're 2-2 with wins against the Ravens and the Steelers.
Exactly, man. All we need is
the
them to keep it
losses
close
are
tonight.
not good. The losses are bad.
I think they lose tonight, but I think they lose by a field goal tonight. Al's brother, you're on board with that? We lock in taking the points?
Now,
I like to lock it in. I'll give you one more nice little trend that I found that I think works.
The Broncos
best for
are
us
the third
being
best
on
defense in
Winston.
the NFL right now. Yards, you realize that. Doesn't matter?
Week-
Roger.
They are.
Weak
They're playing
schedule.
fantastic.
Weak schedule.
Okay.
Very weak schedule. But Jameis Winston, 13-5-1 in his career when a dog of 6 or more points. He will extend that to
5-1.
14-5-1
You're hoping for like an
tonight,
18
fellas.
and
Eat a W for me.
13-5-1.
Let's
That's
eat a W
PG.
tonight.
That's just PG.
Edmund Winston.
Hey.
Eat that W,
Yeah.
brother. I love it. We're going to eat a W tonight, possibly on the money line.
I got to be
Certainly on
honest.
the
I'm
point.
just really
An
disappointed
angelic
in you guys.
speech.
Talk
An
to me.
angelic
Talk to me.
speech afterward.
It will be angelic. Before the game, after the game, everything.
I was saying before, this is like the Carolina Panthers with Jake Delhomme going to the Super Bowl. It's like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
No, but
you shouldn't be losing to these guys.
I agree.
Do you know how
That's
well
my
we've
fault.
been seeing the board?
That's
Jonas?
my fault, but Jonas, the season is not over. I mean, we were one stupid pick away from being +2 right now, and they choked this thing, and it's +1. You got the Christmas schedule. Doogie will try and jam us. That guy's a scumbag, too. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. But we will win this year.
Okay.
We
Don't
will
listen
win.
to
Be
this.
putting
And
blame
it
on
will
a lot
be
of people,
sweet.
Luke.
Oh,
It
it's
will
never
be
their
sweet.
fault. This is the Aaron Rodgers routine.
Okay, can we just come clean real quick? Doogie, why did you give me Kirk Cousins versus Justin Herbert last week? Come clean and tell me Hayes bullied you.
No.
You picked that over
You guys gotta
the
win.
Vikings versus Cardinals. Was the Steelers versus
Luke,
Bengals?
there's
The Bengals
storylines,
game.
man. Storylines are
How is
important
there a
here.
storyline of Atlanta versus the Chargers?
Playoff implications.
Playoff
The storyline is this
implications.
part. See, he's
Conference-
minus 25 at a golf tournament, and that golf tournament is the no balls open. That's what it is.
That
That
is
was a
it.
fraudulent cover, by the way. They put up like 170 yards of offense and
Yeah.
somehow won a comeback game.
Chargers
Don't
are
worry.
going nowhere.
Toronto's on our side, dog. The people have spoken. We'll get one back tonight. We'll close the gap. We're chipping away right
All right.
now. We're chipping away.
Al's brother, even if we lose tonight, we're 500 on the week. Not good for us. Great for them, but we'll just continue to plug along. That's how we
Just a
operate.
blip.
That's how
Just
we
a
operate.
blip. That's all.
All right, AB, locking in the Browns +6.5. Catch you in the group chat tonight. There he is.
Dog pound, baby. Dog pound.
Dog pound. All right, Luke. Good seeing you, man.
Good to see you,
Good
too.
luck tonight. Good luck tonight. And we'll catch you Thursday. Packers, Lions. What a way to start
Oh,
week
banger.
14, man. That's going to be a great, great game. All right. Al's brother, Luke Willson. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right. CJ coming up. Chris Johnston in about a half an hour. Bringing back the slide today at 6:30. I don't know if you've ever done this, Jonas.
Never played it.
It's Cyber Monday, which is now a month long, right? Like my wife was asking me today. She's like, "Do you check out anything for Cyber Monday?" It's going on for weeks. You know, there's no more Black Friday or Cyber Monday. What's the difference today between what you could have got yesterday? Are there really better deals right now? I don't think so. Like Black Friday is like a full 2 or 3 week event now. There's nothing specific, and I don't know, people are going to malls anymore.
Yeah, they do.
Actually, I was in a mall recently. It was packed.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So
Malls
there you
are
go.
making a comeback.
I love them. The mall always needs to exist. It's a great vibe. Gets people out of the house. You got to have somewhere to go, man. You can't just sit in your house all day. You have to walk into a place.
Winter with the kids, go to the mall for a couple hours. You grab a lunch. You get a nap with the kids. It's great.
Awesome setup, man. You can't beat it. Can't beat it. So I'm glad to hear that the malls are back. But yeah, anyway, we'll do the slide in about an hour. I'll tell you more about that, Jonas. And the Leafs are in action tonight with Chicago in town. And Chicago currently last place in the league. Montreal right there with them. And you know what's a sad reality for Habs fans? Because I think they're picking up on this. Many of them probably knew this was coming. That they are the antidote to get out of an issue. Like you look at the Rangers, couldn't win. They beat the Habs on Saturday. Boston can't score. They're a slump buster. That's the term I was looking for. That's what Montreal's become. Like they had the 100th anniversary of the Bruins yesterday. Bruins Habs. It was a really cool build-up, really cool video that ESPN shot and the Bruins shot. And the Bruins put three pucks on the goals on the board within like 10 minutes. Like that's what the Habs are right now. They're the team you're dying to play.
Dude, I think the players get to a certain point where I know they put out the video and the movie of the rebuild, but when you're getting just pummeled like that most nights, you're just looking around and like, I don't know, I played on some bad teams. You look around and say, what the hell are we actually doing here? Mm-hmm. Like, what are we doing? We can't score enough. We can't keep it out of our net enough. Like, what on earth are we trying to accomplish? It's a bad place to be in, man.
Yeah.
Like to kind of have, it's not quite there, but to have no shot most nights, it's no fun. You're like, what the hell? Why am I like?
It's ugly, man.
Yeah,
it's ugly.
To not be one of the teams, and this is what I did for a lot of my career. You watch teams like Detroit, Colorado, the New York Rangers, Devils, like they're loading up and they're on this goal, this mission to win games, and you're just like, what are we doing? Like, what the hell are we doing? Well, it's crazy stuff. It sucks, man.
It does suck. And I was reading a thread online that I'm not sure I 100% believe in, but someone making the argument that the San Jose Sharks are ahead in their rebuild. They've been in front of the Habs. Well, and they have Celebrini, who, like, if you ask me, I can have any player on either roster, I'm taking Celebrini. Mm-hmm. I'm taking him. Like, I love Nick Suzuki.
Matt Eklund is starting to come on a bit.
Yeah, Will Smith, we were talking about him. Like, he's a young kid. They have Sam Dickinson's down in London. He's a rock star on the point. They got him coming.
You just brought up the best point, Hayes, Celebrini. Like, he seems like the guy that can change games.
Yes.
In Montreal, it's like, it's just not good enough all the way. Like, who's changed? Like, it seems like Caulfield gets a couple goals, but it's in a losing effort. I don't know. They're just in a weird spot, man.
I think that's the way to phrase it. Which team would you take, like, behind Montreal? If you could start,
would you take Chicago? Because you got Bedard.
That's the element of the discussion.
There's a lot of recency bias going on right here because I know where this is going to head, and it'd say, would you take San Jose? And a lot of people would say, I'd take San Jose because of the way Celebrini is playing right now.
Yes, and Celebrini, listen, he was a first overall pick. Like, their first overall pick, Slavkovsky, is not in the same category.
But they now paid him.
The Habs, yes, exactly, which, again, has to be a part of this conversation. Like, which organization, top to bottom, do you think is in a worse position than Montreal? I think the Habs argument, and I think it's a sound one, is they feel they have really good defensemen, like really good young defensemen who are going to have to take time to grow. And Hudson's one of them. Reinbacher when he gets healthy. Mayu is one of them. Gouli, like, you can go down the list. They have Demidov coming, who's a really good young stud in Russia right now. He's going to be here. They have players, and I think they feel pretty good about their system. But they're 8-13-3, and a lot of the guys that they've decided to build around are on the team, like Slavkovsky, like Caulfield, like Suzuki, veteran guys, Matheson. But Montembeau's not a young goaltender. He's 27 or 28.
If they came to you guys and said, what should we do? Is there anything they can do?
I think you continue to tank this year, which is going to happen anyway. There's nothing you're going to do to change it, and you hope you hit on another pick.
Do they have anybody they can trade? Not really. Those contracts are bad, right?
Money's coming off for Montreal.
I guess Savard they can trade.
They're going to trade Savard. Like Dvorak's coming off. Armia's going to come off at some point. Gallagher or Anderson, although those guys still play pretty decent roles. Like Gallagher, when he's healthy, I think is still an effective player.
Expensive too.
Yeah, and they're long term. But yeah, I mean, I think Montreal's in a better position than I would say Anaheim. Honestly, I might say Pittsburgh because of the realities of Pittsburgh. I know that you have Sid and Gino and all that, but you are what you are, and you don't have the future that I think Montreal has. But that is what is quickly becoming true. Is you have two original six teams, one of them that's in town tonight in Chicago, where they've been in a rebuild, Chicago and Montreal, now for years, and they're still last place in the league. Like Chicago, like the Cade and Tay stuff, that was like 5 years ago. Those guys, that came to an end. They have been in the bottom of the league for a long, long time.
Yeah, you think about it here, the Leafs were last 1 year, 15, 16.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't even that, remember that team? Like they were kind of like likable. They played hard.
They had the dignified tank.
Yeah, exactly. And then it was like you said earlier, Hayes, the next year they're in the playoffs and they play Washington. They play really well.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's weird about this like rebuild stuff. It's like some teams, it's like,
yeah,
dude, there was a quote from a guy that was the GM of the Houston Rockets. He was like, I need 9 years for this. Do you remember that quote that dude came out with? He was like, he's like, it was something absurd, like, don't talk to me until 2029 and I might have something here.
Yeah. It was in relation to the Harden trade that he needed like a decade to be able to tell you whether or not it was going to work.
That's smart because now they're ahead of schedule. They just beat
Who the
OKC.
hell's good? But then there's the example of what the Leafs did. It's like you get Austin Matthews, you get some other young kids coming up, and you make the playoffs. Some of these other teams, and it's like you don't get any award for what the Leafs did with those kids. But it's like they're not even close. Not even close to getting into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what does that say about those young guys? And I always beg the question, how much better are they going to be next year? Like Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky, Hudson, are they going to be so much better next year that they're going to vault them into a playoff spot? That's the question. I don't know, man.
I don't know about next year. I think if you get Demidov in and let's say they win the lottery, which is reasonable here.
Dude, you're asking for them to win the lottery again?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the reality now anyway. There's nothing. I don't care if Laine's returning or not. Montreal is going to be one of the 5 worst teams in the league this year. Mm-hmm. I'd be shocked otherwise. I mean, that's what they've been all season. They have 19 points in 24 games. Only Chicago is worse. That's who they are. They're one of the 5 or 6 worst teams in the league. That's not me just projecting it and being hot takey. They played 24 games. We're past U.S. Thanksgiving.
That's what I just can't get over. It's like the Montreal Canadiens, you were brutal last year, and now you're going to be one of the 5 worst teams in the league this year again.
Mm-hmm.
I thought at the beginning of the year there was some chatter of we'd like to play some meaningful games. Well, you're not. So what the hell does that say you are?
Well, it says you're clearly many pieces away. And I think, again, if you're building, you need Demidov here. You need another high-end pick in this draft. I think the coach is probably going to be on thin ice.
That high-end pick could be 3 years away,
He could be.
So then you're turning it into a 10-year rebuild, which is insane.
That's tough. I hear you. And they're not alone. Like Ottawa's not far ahead of them. Ottawa.
Or you know what you also could get into? The rebuild of the rebuild, where you try this for 5 or 6 years, and then you're like, this isn't actually very good. So then you got to rip apart what didn't work, and then it's like we're rebuilding from rebuilding, which you've seen the Blue Jays do that. It's insane.
Yeah, the White Sox, that's what it happens, man. You got to rebuild from the rebuild. If you got it wrong, you got it wrong. You probably need new executives in order for that to happen.
You just change the word, though. You don't say rebuild. What's the other word?
Retool.
Retool.
You retool. It's time to retool.
You can't retool if you've always been garbage, though.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's semantics in the end. Chris Johnston in 15 minutes. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, lots of support for Hayes and Bro online and in real life, as I would expect.
You guys do polling?
We've done polling before.
Okay.
Yeah, we try to get a good read on that. Like an Angus Reid, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. The New York Times does like polls.
Sure. I think we'd get a lot of support.
What the electorate wants.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Hayes and Bro would have a lot of support. And Al's brother's a man of the people, and we've sent him out somewhere in the city with a pair of Leaf tickets, and you have to guess where he's hiding for your chance to win them. Are you ready for a new location and the first clue of the week?
Hit me.
Hey, OD fans, it's a new week, which means I'm buzzing off to a new location with a new pair of Leaf tickets to give away. This time it's the Leafs and Sabres on Sunday, December 15th. And here is your Monday clue. I got to tell you, I'm starting to feel a little lightheaded. The fumes in the area that I'm in can get a bit overwhelming at times.
All right, there you go. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. It's early in the week. It's early. By the end of the week, I think
well,
we'll
what
have
is
an
he
idea.
in some kind of toxic chemical plant?
I hope not, for his sake, but these are coveted tickets. So tune in tomorrow for another clue. And the first caller through on Friday with the correct location will win the tickets. Leaf Sabres. Finals Brother is brought to you by McAlpine Ford in Aurora. Our family, the Ford family, and you. Full details at tsn1050.ca. Chris Johnston, our best bets on the Leaf game tonight, the Monday Nighter tonight, and the Slide returns at 6:30. Jonas is jacked. He cannot wait for this. Final hour up next. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.